They might be perfectly nice individuals outside of their job, but no one wants to open the door to a repo man. Charged with taking away people's possessions when they can no longer afford to pay for them, it's no surprise that they get a bad reputation. However, Jim Ford was one man brave enough to break the mold. Jim, who is co-owner of the company Illini Recovery Incorporated, is not averse to causing some tension between him and other people. Indeed, for over 20 years, he's been working as a repo man near St. Louis and has coped with numerous upset customers. And the man was well versed in how to deal with difficult people who took out their anger on him. Some of his encounters make for shocking reading. Indeed, some interactions with disgruntled customers have left Jim literally in the firing line. He told the Miami Herald in 2016 that people tried to shoot him numerous times, and one time he saw a man shoot from a rifle that missed his head by a few tiny inches. Indeed, Jim tried to put into perspective how close he came to death. During his rounds, Jim had needed to repossess an old couple's car after they'd started having financial difficulties. However, what he did next was unprecedented and was definitely against the Repo Man code. But for the couple concerned, they couldn't believe their luck after their misfortune. Stan and Pat Kipping were one unfortunate couple who had fallen into financial difficulty. The couple from Red Bull, Illinois had been hit hard by their lack of funds and sudden increase in medical bill costs. Stan, for his part, had enjoyed a career in the Navy and had been a janitor, and the couple had never been very wealthy. But money became tight when Stan came down with early stages Alzheimer's, meaning more had to be spent on his medical bills and prescription medicine. So as a result, they fell behind on their payments for their 1998 Buick, for which they paid $95 a month. Although the couple had never been rich, they'd always managed to stay on top of the finances. However, with mounting financial pressure, they ended up in a hole of debt from which they could see no way out. And the last thing they needed was a repo man knocking on their door. For Jim, however, he had to do his job, and soon enough, Stan and Pat could see his tow truck parked outside their home. Luckily for the couple, they encountered arguably one of the nicest repo men in Illinois, who preferred the more diplomatic approach when recovering debts. Jim told CBS, "I may be getting soft in my old age, but you get more done with kindness." Meanwhile, the couple tried to maintain a positive attitude, but that didn't make the ordeal any less upsetting. The car was part of their family life, and their Pomeranian dog, Baby, loved going for drives in it. Pat recalled her thought process when Jim repossessed their vehicle, telling CBS, "When he took the car, I said, 'God, do whatever you think is best for us.'" Pat then suggested that maybe this was all meant to happen. She added, "You know, God works in mysterious ways." But the couple had struck a chord with Jim, and they remained on his mind for a while after he repossessed their car. He felt terrible that he'd taken their car, considering the tough time they were going through. The whole ordeal seemed unfair to Jim, and he resolved to rectify the situation. More specifically, Stan and Pat reminded Jim of people close to his heart. He told CBS, "They're like America's grandparents. I saw my grandparents in them." He'd driven a bit before his conscience forced him to take action and help the elderly couple if he could. Indeed, once he had left Stan and Pat's home, Jim stopped his car and called the bank. He added, "I made it a block before I pulled over and called the bank, and I asked them if I could pay off their past due amount, but it was to no avail." And when Jim got home later that day, the incident stuck with him. He told the Chicago Sun-Times, "When I got home that night, I said to myself, they're a real nice elderly couple. I gotta do something. I can't just take their car." Indeed, Jim was becoming a repo man like no other. But with the local bank refusing to pay for the car and unable to pay off Stan and Pat's debt himself, Jim had to flex his creative muscles. So he decided to do whatever it took to pay for the couple's car and park it back again in their driveway where it belonged. And so Jim set up a GoFundMe page to pay for Pat and Stan's car. The GoFundMe page shared Jim's venture with a video and a caption outlining his mission. Jim Ford is a repo man. He takes for a living. But after picking up Pat and Stan's Buick, he decided to give back. Jim utilized his contacts in the repo industry and gained lots of traction for his page. Indeed, on the first night of being active, it raised more money than Jim could have ever wished for, raising over $3,500, which covered the cost of the car with plenty left to spare. With the money raised, Jim paid off the fee for the service on the car and had enough to pay the $2,500 that they owed to the bank. After all that, there was still plenty of money left over, and Jim popped the remaining $1,000 into an envelope. Meanwhile, the final amount raised stood at 10 times the original figure, amounting to an incredible $35,000. Still, Pat and Stan had no idea about the surprise waiting for them, nor did they have a clue about the other extras that Jim had arranged for them. Indeed, he'd gone above and beyond to make up for taking their car away with his exceeding generosity. But Jim's kindness didn't end there, because he'd also employed the help of his friend Tom Williams to fix the headlights on the car. They also repaired the radiator, changed the engine oil, and placed another gift on the front seat for Pat and Stan to enjoy. Armed with the fixed Buick and a frozen turkey, Jim and Tom hooked the car up to their tow truck and arrived at Stan and Pat's house once more. They subsequently greeted the elderly couple on their drive and relayed the good news. When Jim and Tom arrived at the elderly couple's driveway, a cheering group of the couple's neighbors welcomed them. Indeed, it was a momentous moment for Stan and Pat. The latter told the Miami Herald, "It was a miracle come true. We didn't know what we were going to do." Stan recalled his joy when he found out they were getting their car back. He told the Miami Herald, "I got up this morning and I looked up at the sun and I said, I hope we get our car back. It's just unbelievable." They were just overjoyed that they had their Buick back. But that wasn't the only thing that Jim had in store for them. When Jim told Pat and Stan that he'd sorted the outstanding payments onto their car, they couldn't believe it. Jim then handed Pat the envelope with the remaining money. Unable to find words, she gave the best hug she could over her walker. And at the same time, a kindly neighbor got the turkey and placed it on Stan and Pat's porch. It was overwhelming, to say the least. Closing the story, the reporter for CBS News ended on a touching note. He observed, "There are good people out there, guardian angels, and sometimes you find them in the most unlikely places and professions. Because although kindness is rarely a job, no matter what you do, it's always an option." I hope you liked this video. If so, please hit the subscribe button and click on the bell icon to make sure you never miss a video from our channel.